Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio at a distance is M3. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. Do me a favor, guys, don't forget to hit like and to share this broadcast. Thank you to all the mods, Leslie Berger, White Hat Methods, Wheezy Girl, Real Red Pill Girlfriend, Jojo K, Hog, and more for keeping the chat comfy. We're going to be talking about some new developments in the move to censor conservative accounts, and also some other accounts which are, just blatantly saying some awful things. But hey, it's America. You don't have to listen. That's the beauty of it. We are all human beings, and no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we should be fighting for the same thing, which is our freedom, our sovereignty, our rights as American citizens. All right, gang. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Franklin's Finest Coffee is the first ever emergency survival coffee with an actual up to 25-year shelf life. The kit provides a 1-year supply of flavorful Franklin's Finest coffee for one person. It's conveniently packaged in 12 resealable, 60-serving, heavy-duty 4-layer zipper pouches for a total of 720 servings. It's all packaged in a rugged, water-resistant bucket for easy storage, and Franklin's Finest Coffee is the ultimate survival perk, especially for those that drink coffee on a daily basis. Or you can take it camping. It's 100% Colombian, and it's also the perfect item for barter or trade in an emergency. You'll thank us later for that tip. As Benjamin Franklin said, among the numerous luxuries on the table, coffee may be considered as one of the most valuable. It excites cheerfulness without intoxication, and the pleasing flow of spirits which it occasions is never followed by sadness, languor, or debility. Yeah, somebody says that look was priceless. My monitors got unplugged, and apparently it completely screwed up the configuration on my Stream Deck. Methods, how are you today, buddy?
And I'm doing good. Just running off that high off the show from Sunday. Man, I had a lot of fun with that one.
No doubt. If you guys have not seen our show with Mark Taylor, I'm going to say as soon as you're done here, you need to go watch it. And you need to send it to everybody who's feeling down or who is having a bit of trepidation about what's happening in the world. Honestly, it was what I think a lot of people needed to hear. I think we did a great job warming it up in the first hour, and then Mark came on and he just hit it home. I see Woke Societies in the chat. What's up, Woke? We haven't said hello to you yet. Also, hello to all of the regulars who are hanging out with us today. Anybody who didn't see the show, you're not going to know that I changed my background. How cool is that? It is a continuous loop of me, like, riding off into a synthwave sunset. Pretty exciting.
Right. But no, I totally agree with you about that show on Sunday. It's what a lot of people needed to hear, I assume, and a lot of people told us that after the fact. Yeah. But even for us, it was energizing to sit there and to hear a lot of things that you and I can probably not put together and say correctly, especially with Mark Taylor energy. And just having that kind of discernment to explain those things. But I was grateful to be a part of it and even just sit back and listen with everybody else. And I want to thank everybody for sharing that show and making sure everybody knew about it, making it the biggest show of this channel's live stream ever. We broke 10,000 viewers live. Yeah. And just want to thank that's because of y'all. I mean, the word had to spread through people who follow the show. So we want to thank you guys for that for sure.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 10,400 at the height. Definitely the biggest show we've ever done. I mean, I always know that a show with Mark is going to be a good turnout, but I didn't expect it to beat X22 and to beat Roseanne. So pleasantly surprised. Right. Mark is a great guy, very intelligent. Obviously, he's a direct conduit, and he has some incredible things to say. Like, his unique perspective, I think, makes it really, really special. And if you guys are, here and you have never subscribed to Mark Taylor, I encourage you to go ahead and do so. I think he's criminally undersubscribed. He definitely is being censored in the same way that we are here, and in the same way that I'm sure Methods will be in the very near future. It's just part of the game. And that was actually something that we wanted to talk about today. There's been a bit of a purge recently. Many accounts that are just right-leaning, but then also accounts for people who are ultra right-leaning, and perhaps you might say they were sent in just to kind of make things difficult for everybody. I don't even want to repeat the names of some of the people who were deleted off of this platform yesterday, but Stefan, I've never really considered him to be anything more than, kind of a milquetoast philosopher. He doesn't say too, do you know what I mean, though? I mean, he doesn't say anything that's too outrageous, and I think one of the biggest complaints that I heard about him in the articles that I was looking through is that they called him a pseudoscientist because he points to certain controversial research. And, I don't want to get into it specifically because it's the kind of thing that would, I would imagine would get us deleted real quick. And I'm not trying to do that.
Right. But my only interaction with him is that he's retweeted me like once or twice. Mm-hmm. And it was him telling me how wrong I was about my tweet. I don't follow him. He's very popular. I'm not trying to shoot him down, but my only interaction with him is he doesn't like my opinion, which is fine. We can have difference of opinion, but a lot of people weren't happy with him doing that. I just let people take care of it themselves. But regardless, we should all be able to have a platform to talk. That's the whole thing about this. Even if it's an opinion that we don't agree with, they still need to be able to have their platform, the free speech to do so. Mm-hmm. So the idea of things being taken down like that kind of puts us all on the same team because we are being taken down or at least censored at the very least in one way or another. I mean, I get a lot of comments all the time. They'll say like, I'm on my 7th account. Right. And I'm like, I'm so grateful to be holding on to my first. The best I can, and especially with you on this channel, I mean, you've been demonetized, which is just terrible, but you're still holding on strong, and we're all going to keep going on with it. But it is kind of scary to think about at any moment they could just play God, and take channels down.
Now, there's an account. Well, Leslie, I want to show this comment here. So Spooky Fish Lizard says that's the problem. It's not just part of the game. YouTube creators need to start fighting back instead of just rolling over and letting those expletive stomp on your rights. Well, unfortunately, there's only so much you can do as a creator on YouTube. They have the game stacked against you. And even if you have an organization that you're affiliated with that can theoretically fight for your rights as a creator and go to YouTube and ask for help or try to get things fixed around, I'm still waiting to hear if I can get remonetized or even what the problem was. What was it that we said? I mean, I can guess, I can speculate all day. But there is nothing that I can point to, and because of the way that they've written their terms of service and because of their protection with Section 230, there is nothing else I can do. I certainly am not going to go to YouTube headquarters and, pull something that happened in the past. Right. You get what I'm saying. So there's only so much that is even possible, okay? Yeah, I've already set myself up on other platforms. I've encouraged people to go there. You can't find me on BitChute either, okay? All of my videos are on BitChute. They maybe have 1 or 2 views, and then, other people upload my videos, but there's no recourse for me on BitChute. I can't, say, hey, this is copywritten material. Don't upload my stuff. And then you look at other platforms and, say like DLive. You can't upload videos on DLive. You go stream and that's it. There are other ones, Vimeo. I have to pay like $500 a month for the amount of stuff that I upload. I can't do that. I don't know. If somebody has an idea of how to fight back, then please, actually express it rather than just saying you need to do this, because everybody is an armchair expert when it comes to this stuff. Oh, why don't you just start a new platform? Okay, come on, put some thought into it. I have built websites before. They take a lot of time. There is so much infrastructure that has to be put into that. You have to safeguard people's information. You have to guarantee that people's information is not going to be breached and handed out to other people. The amount of traffic that is going to be generated by hosting and viewing videos, the bandwidth, it is absolutely cost prohibitive. They have cornered the market because they pretended that this was going to be a platform for people with dissenting opinions to put their views out. And then once it comes down to the nitty-gritty, they change their mind, and that is why I am waiting on Attorney General Barr and the Department of Justice to come through with the revision for Section 230 and the antitrust investigations into the owner of this platform. That's the only thing that we can do. And the other thing that I can do is raise people's awareness. Get out here, talk about it, and try to get people to go to different platforms. But, you know, again, if you've never been in the situation of trying to move people to a different platform, I mean, it's like asking a monkey not to eat bananas. You know, I mean, people get into their habits. You know, they are creatures of habit. They want to go to a certain place where everybody is, and they want to go ahead and use it. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to use Twitter. I want to use YouTube. I want to stay where the battleground is, and I want to fight for the president, and I want to fight for our rights. You know, I think that it is vitally important that we have these platforms to be able to use them, because that's where the eyes are. And the other part about it is, and I've talked about this, is that I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I do not want to be on a platform that is only surrounded by people who think exactly the same way as I do. I want to be able to reach people who have never heard this information before and change their minds and help them realize that there is a better way, that people who don't agree with you are not your enemy, and they don't need to be silenced and completely, you know, like pushed into obscurity. You know, do you understand what I'm saying, Methods?
No, I totally do. That's the whole point of it. And when we see things like with Trump being taken down off of Twitch, yeah, you know, full disclosure, I didn't even know he was on Twitch. I don't use it. But once again, it comes down to, you know, they're deplatforming people based off of you know, different views during the middle of the election year. That's, to me, is election tampering.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
You know, but I do agree with you on that. Now, I will say this, and we'll be giving more information later when we get closer to the dates and stuff. When I launch my stuff that I'm doing on my channel, we're going to go about things a little bit differently. You know, not to basically see if we can answer that riddle on how we can do things and not deal with YouTube too much. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that information later. I personally, I don't mind if going about a different way doesn't have, you know, X amount of people watching in real time or views and all that stuff. I just want to do it to where I feel comfortable enough and be able to be us, speak our mind, and not be, you know, dealing with the overlords of YouTube or anybody else. So we'll get more into those details later. And I guess I can go ahead. I mean, we've got, what, 2,800 people here, give or take. I guess I can go ahead and announce this. I know I've been kind of teasing here or there about who's going to be co-hosting with me when we start. Now, when we start, it'll be one show a week. The ideas are here in the next few weeks. We'll be releasing that date probably next week. But I'm excited to announce this, and I'm going to be having our buddy Scott from Woke Societies as my co-host once a week. We're going to hang out for an hour. It's going to be a full-blown, from start to finish, conversation, beginning to end, and obviously uploading it later on different platforms and stuff like that. We're going to try to, you know, play with things a little bit and see what works the best. But I am very excited to have Scott on because, I mean, watching his channel grow has been great. He's got a great point of view. He got red-pilled during this movement. So having that point of view, and he can look back on how he used to think before. So I'm definitely excited about it, man. Scott's going to be really, really good, and he's going to make a lot of difference in this movement for years to come.
Now, there was a comment from Theshua. He said that the quarantine format was better because it was less ranting and more interaction with the audience, reading posts from people with questions. You guys, I need to ask the mods, please, for the time being, stop sharing the PayPal. They locked my first PayPal account, so I created a new one, and then they locked that one as well. So any donations sent over the last 48 hours are locked for the time being, and I'm not able to access them. But, Theshua, if you have a question or you have a comment, something that you want to say, you can send it on the Cash App, and you have the ability to write a message, and then I can go ahead and get that and read it. You can also go to my Subscribestar page, and you can press the tip button. You can leave a message, and then you can tip directly that way as well. So we are going to be reading those questions and comments from the audience in the last half hour of the show, what we had decided was that this was going to be a better use of time. It would allow us to go ahead and have a more nuanced discussion, and then have people's questions and comments in the last half hour, so it doesn't break up that commentary. So I'm sorry if you don't like it. Cash App is not made by Google. It's a completely separate company. Charles Pixley says, set up a Shopify. Well, Charles, then I have to build a website, and I have to pay for the payment processing service. So, I mean, it's all the same. You know, I mean, with Cash App, I don't have to do anything except set it up. Also, it doesn't dox like my true identity. So, you know, there's a security feature right there. And again, there's no fees, and it's instant. So, you know, I mean, it's very convenient. You know, when my daughter wants to go to the grocery store, you know, I can send her $50 to go get whatever food she wants. It's very, very convenient. And I think that when you sign up, again, you get $5 and I get $5 as long as you follow my link in there. So, let's get back to the conversation, though. So the situation with Twitch, it's only a temporary ban, which is, you know, I guess better than nothing else. But it's in regard to statements that President Trump made on the campaign trail back in 2016. Kind of crazy. They're really going back and diving deep. But it was from when President Trump made the bad hombres comment. Talking about how, you know, some bad people had hurt some other people, some American citizens. And it's just absolutely ridiculous to me. I mean, the term bad hombre is not specifically used to denigrate anyone from a particular racial group. I mean, it's a Spanish term. Just because you're speaking a language, talking about somebody in a different language, I don't understand how that can be construed as somehow, you know, the ist word. So, but I think the silver lining here is that the Twitch channel will come back. But also, there's a part of me that thinks that President Trump is trying to push the envelope. I mean, he stated the other day that he thinks that Twitter will ban him before the election. And I think that he wants them to ban him before the election, because it's going to give the utmost best reason for the government to go after them for meddling in the election. I mean, what better argument than to say that Twitter has banned the account of a sitting U.S. president, someone who is running for office again this year?
Right. And I've had a few discussions with other people about that when it happened with Twitch. And the overlaying idea is that they're probably testing the waters here, or at the very least desensitizing by taking them off of Twitch. And then they did the purge over at Reddit of the 2,000 accounts. I mean, they went after the Donald and made such a big deal out of it, but they had already migrated, 4 or 5 months ago. They were already not using it. So you do it there and just kind of systematically take them from different places, because Twitter would be the big one. You know, they do that, then all hell's going to break loose, because we already don't like it when they censor or at the very least add those tags with, you know, basically trying to fact check the president of the United States, and, you know, and fact checking with CNN, no less. So I do believe it was kind of testing the waters, but also they are working towards doing that, because they're going to probably have to. And I think Trump's pushing that envelope because it does justify the reasoning that we already know is out there to give us a free platform across everywhere if you're doing these things. And now I had seen, and I don't have it available, but I saw an interview somebody sent me from Jack Dorsey, and around, I want to say 2018, and he was being asked about the free speech concept. Did you see this?
I saw it and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, but continue.
Right. And the idea of it, I won't say what the video was edited to have involved in it, but they did have what they, you're right. But they basically, the conversation was about how Jack Dorsey was touted for giving a free speech, a place for ideas to talk, on a place called Twitter. And then he said that he admitted that they never really planned on free speech to be, you know, the spearhead of what Twitter is. So it's kind of like backtracking, and it goes back to what we've had A.G. Barr say multiple times, what we've had Trump say, and even our favorite Anon's kind of referred to, that they won everybody over. They built up this base where everybody hangs out, You know,
they
got all
respect.
that control. Right. Got all the control. You know, everybody has to. We still use Twitter, and I personally, I hate Twitter, but I know to use it.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, okay, well, we were never about free speech, so we're just going to keep doing what we do because we don't want other people that want to be involved in the conversation to be quote unquote offended. Mm-hmm. And this whole idea of living your life on avoiding, you know, being offended. I mean, that's creating a bunch of participation trophy people that, you know, we don't need to have.
Right.
We can't build as a society if everybody's afraid of everything, and or at the very least there's everything's a safe space now. And we can't have that. You got to have tough skin. You got to be able to deal with stuff. Think about how much tough skin, and especially people in the audience, how much tough skin have you built over the last few years dealing with shills, dealing with attacks from the left, you know, having all these crazy things said. I've had the most horrific things said to me in DMs and stuff, threats and all that, people talking about my mother, and spoiler alert, she passed away when I was young. I've had a bunch of those things said to me, and over time it just becomes white noise and you just don't care, and it actually becomes comical. And that helps you build a lot better than all these things about, you know, this is my, you know, you're it's a microaggression, it's a trigger, you know, you can't say that because it bothers me just a little bit. You know, well, you're not the king of my life, just like I'm not the king of yours. So, you know, do something else then if you don't like what I'm doing.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, and Theshua said, you know, thanks for telling us about Cash App. You know, and here's the thing, guys. I saw somebody else say that it's 33% owned by Square or Jack Dorsey or something like that. I mean, this is the other sad fact, is that there are only so many people in like these types of worlds who have created these products. Unfortunately, they have monopolies on them. So basically, anything that you look at that is a possibility for people to use in a situation like this, they're going to have something to do with people who are actively working to silence conservative voices. I mean, that is just the sad fact. And that's why I suggested the Subscribe Star, because that is probably the best option for people who want to support us and who want to do it in a way that doesn't benefit these people that, you know, to be quite honest, we're actively working, you know, to overcome. So getting back,
totally, just real quick to everybody in the chat. Yes, I said white noise, and no, that's not racist. But I do appreciate the humor out there. But also, and a lot of people are talking about there's fresh posts and stuff. We plan to cover all those. So we'll get to it.
Yeah, in just a moment. We're going to cover it in just a moment. So let's see. We've got also, in addition to those things that were deleted, many YouTube pages, the president's Twitch account, also like 2,000 boards on Reddit were deleted yesterday, including the famous The Donald page. But here's the thing. About 4 months ago, everybody on the Donald migrated off to a website called thedonald.win, and it is the same type of thing. It's a forum website, but they're only posting there. So they've been inactive for 4 months on the Donald on Reddit, and now it's been deleted. So basically all pro-Trump websites, or excuse me, all pro-Trump forums on Reddit are completely gone now. So, you know, I mean, there is a part of me that knows that, you know, the apocalypse is coming. You know, this is the beginning of the purge. You know, so I encourage everybody to go ahead and make sure that you have a Parler account. Right now, they're the #1 app in the world, mobile app in the world, because so many people are moving over there. They've had, I guess, over 1 million people sign up like in a 24-hour period. So thank you to Devin Nunes and everybody else who's been pushing that. Dan Bongino, I know he's a partner there. He owns a portion of it. But, you know, for me right now, it's a backup in case something happens. But I'm going to continue using everything that I have in every way that I can. So, you know, I appreciate everybody who has supported the channel. And, you know, and I mean, you know, liking and sharing the video is one of the most powerful things that you can do, because it helps get new people on the channel, on the information, and hopefully we can wake some people up, because right now the world is an ugly place, and the attitudes that people have, you know, this intolerance and this ignorance that people are just consumed with everywhere. We have to help break them out of that brainwashing, their years of programming. And, again, this is why I say be nice to people, because, somebody can come to you and just be a completely loathsome individual, and then they hear something that makes it click and they start asking questions. As an example of something that people might start asking questions about, and this is from Quite Frankly, I want to say thank you to Frank for putting this out there. This is something that has been spoken about, but, I don't know that many people have thought about it. There's a lot of questioning about testing for the Rona. Well, on the CDC's website, it has this information about positive testing. And it says a positive test shows that you might have antibodies from an infection with this sickness that caused CV-19. However, there's also a chance it's a positive result because you have antibodies from an infection with another sickness in the same family of viruses in the same family, such as the one that causes the common cold. So who here has had the common cold before? Okay, I bet you every single person has their hand raised. No one has not had the cold. All right, so we are all in possession in our immune system of some type of antibodies to fight against that. And that thing mutates every single year. All right, so, this is a reason why I told people before to do everything you could to, not get one of these things. There was also a story that I heard yesterday about some people. They were worried about the positive testing. I think it might have been a nurse, but they sent 2 unused tests in with fake names, and they both came back positive.
Right. They were testing fruit overseas somewhere. Can't remember exactly where, and they showed up like that. But that's the whole point, right? They're pushing this, we need more testing, not enough testing. And the all of 3 minutes I had the hearing this morning on, because I was doing something else and it was just on my TV, they were saying we don't have enough tests, we need more tests. Well, just like how Trump keeps saying, what happens when you test? You're going to have more positive results. And especially with this thing from Frank about the CDC saying, hey, by the way, this could be anything, but they're just chalking it up to the numbers. And of course, the left loves their numbers when it comes to this thing. So it's all a coordinated effort. You could see how this was planned, for months. They were probably working on a lot of this during that time that Nancy was sitting on the impeachment stuff. During that little quiet time. And obviously they have a lot of free time because they're not really working. They're just at home. So they could push all this stuff. But yeah, to me, you can't really trust those numbers. To me, these test positive are the same as polls from the mainstream media.
Exactly.
I don't trust it.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. My daughter she was in Florida with a friend. Now she's coming back, and her work wants her to get tested because she's been in Florida. I guess they're making a big deal out of this resurgence in Florida, and so definitely prayers for my daughter, because the worst thing that could possibly happen is for her to come back, get whatever this is that Frank's talking about, because of course we've all been sick before, and then to have her locked up for a couple of weeks. I also need to ask everyone, I put this out on Twitter. We've asked for prayers before for Eminem and his dad. He's a viewer of the show. He's going to be starting his own channel soon. His dad recently got checked, and he has several tumorous masses in his back, a couple other places. And I know that they watched the show. I don't know if you guys are watching right now, but I just want to ask the entire audience, please pray for him and his father. And if there's anybody else out there who needs prayers, if you're concerned about anything, please, send it to me. Tag me on Twitter. I know I'm not the easiest person to get a hold of, but it's about the volume of stuff that's coming to me. I do my best to keep up with it. I just want you guys to know that if I miss something or if I forget something, it's not a slight. It's just, I'm only one man, and I really wish that, I could do something about it, but I can't at the moment. So I appreciate everybody watching, and I appreciate everybody who offers prayers prayers for Eminem and his father.
Absolutely. And there's a great comment here in the chat from Ursula, a friend of the channel, said, just like Mark Taylor said on Sunday, we must endure the battle in order to celebrate the victory.
Yes.
It's tough right now, but as our favorite Anon says, where we go one, we go all. And that's why, to me, it is really hard to keep up with the person. I mean, this is a huge family.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to keep up with, any of these prayer requests and stuff going on. We try to cover some of them on Twitter or even on the show, but definitely saying, a blanket prayer in general for everybody involved in this, just to make sure, because we do get attacked in various different ways, whether it's, spiritual warfare, you can kind of feel the weight of feeling the attack that way. And then on top of that, everything just going on in general, being separated from family, not being able to live your life, your businesses, all those things. There's definitely plenty to pray for. I'm sure everybody in this movement could have something that they would appreciate a prayer about. Mm-hmm. So, to me, at the very least, saying a blanket prayer for everybody, it can't hurt. It takes just a minute. It's definitely worthwhile doing. So thank you for bringing that up, Ursula.
Yeah, and then also Eminem, if you're watching, Charles Pixley, one of my mods, what's up, Charles? Also, he's been a guest on the show. He is the man to contact about treatment options. And if you send me an email today, I will forward it directly on to Charles. Charles, if you want to throw your email in the chat so that we can, get it to Eminem right now, that would be great. And actually, if you do that, I've got my DM with Eminem open, and then I can go ahead and send it on. I don't want to go searching for it right now. But I do want to, before we get into the post, you guys, I wanted to give some thank yous to people who sent me things. I got these. I don't know if I should say who sent this to me. I'm just not going to say anybody's names, and it's because I don't know what I have the authorization to say. But these are some wickless candles, Fragrance of Heaven candles. This one is fried green tomatoes, and this one is crazy about a sharp dressed man. Something tells me these were sent for me particularly. And then they also sent some essential oils. Thank you very much for that. I got this book, Extreme Soul Makeover, 7 Days to Remove Mental Blocks and Gain Momentum. I feel like I'm moving at quite a clip already, but I'm definitely going to read through it because it's not too long. I did get this book as well. This is from Colin McWay, and I think that's okay to say because his name is printed on the front of it. I'm going to see about having Colin come on as a guest. A Citizen of the Constitution, Consent and Communism, a modern discussion about constitutional originalism and how socialism is illegal under our Constitution. That is an argument for today, my friends. Also, I got these 3 journals, which you can purchase on Amazon. And look, the favorite Anon journal, it says favorite Anon journal. So, if I'm not mistaken, I was the first person to say that. And I love seeing this on here. It is so cool. There's obviously 17th letter of the alphabet, where we go one, we go all journal, and then 17th letter journal right there. So these are awesome. I'm going to be using these to take notes and stuff for the shows. It's an easy way for me to access it. And I got this comic book. This is a promo comic for the Chronicler saga, Darkness Below, by Lore Studio. So you can see it is a comic. It's unfinished because this is a promo for a tabletop RPG. It looks like they're in the middle of designing it, and it's really cool. And this is one of those things that I really like. I spend all day in the news. I spend all day in the horror that is this world, and I love a little bit of escapism. I like science fiction. I like medieval stuff, whether it's a game or a book or, like a movie. I love being able to sit back and just turn off the internal dialogue for a little bit, because there's so much to do in this world, and I got to be able to do that to keep myself sane. Oh, also, I got this shirt. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like that one. That's definitely cool.
That is a good one.
Too.
That is a good one. All right. So without further ado, I think we should go ahead and get into the post now, because we've got so many to do. Thank you very much to everyone who has sent. And I also got letters and donations from several people over the weekend. I appreciate it. If you guys do send something like a check or a money order, you can write it out to Red Pill 78 or to cash. Somebody wrote it out to Red Pill News, and I'm gonna have to see what I can do about that because I don't have anything legal as Red Pill News, but maybe I can create it, I suppose. So thank you to everyone who has supported the channel in these various ways. Oh yeah, we do have a couple new posts. So we're going to have to start with post 4537.
We could just go through them like rapid fire style.
Yeah, we will. So this is pointing back to 3957 from April, and it says, when does the NDA expire regarding drudge sale to foreign entity? Think 2020 presidential election +1. So that sounds to me like the NDA is going to expire the day after the presidential election. Removal blackout coming of pro-POTUS accounts. We just saw that starting yesterday to a large degree. Win by any means necessary. Clearly, they're going to do whatever it takes. And here's the thing, it's not necessarily a grand orchestrated thing. I think that there, in many ways, there is a large level of orchestration, but you also have to remember that the people who don't like us, the people who don't like POTUS, they are quite literally willing to do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how dirty it is, and they don't necessarily need to be working with anybody else. You know, you've got a lot of lone wolves out there who are willing to just play dirty, you know, kick for the center, punch you in the gut when you're not looking. And then all assets will be deployed this election. Sleepers, pro, will shift position to nay. Think Paul Ryan Fox, our favorite Anon. Now, when does CV19-2 MSDNC fear push end? Also, think 2020 presidential election +1. Democratic Party death spiral. And then, of course, the 17th letter of the alphabet. Somebody sent me a message saying, why don't you ever say the 17th letter of the alphabet at the end? Well, it's about self-preservation of this channel. When you say things in certain context with other things, then they know what you're doing. So far, I've been able to avoid some of the censorship that has hit other channels with those Wikipedia entries. I don't want those under my video. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. So I don't think that I need to say it every single time. Now, the next post, 4538, is in relation, it's a BBC News article, and it's about a new virus found in pigs in China, and it says it has pandemic proportions, and our favorite Anon says another Chinese special delivery. I think that's exactly what it is. Now, the next post is a tweet from Jim Jordan. Let me get that pulled up. And it says, the same people who broke the Russia hoax story now expect us to believe they're reporting on President Trump ignoring bounties on American troops. Don't think so. And then we go back to the post, and it says, DOD whistleblower coming, Schiff investigation hearing coming, win by any means necessary, all assets deployed, live or die, Democratic Party, foreign puppet masters, string pullers, death spiral. So, Methods, I don't know anything about the context of Jim Jordan's tweet. What are you aware of?
Well, he's talking about the whole story about Russia paying the Taliban to attack U.S. troops and all that stuff. And I caught a little bit this morning of Schiff's presser talking about, and he was acting I'm just really surprised that Trump wouldn't have been informed about this. He should have been. And his argument was, if people are afraid to tell Trump news he wouldn't like because he's friends with Russia, that's a problem. And not blaming the people for being afraid to tell him or not telling him, but the fact of the whole thing. So it is a push for that. And are we going to endure that? I don't know. I think that there is going to be some kind of situation that's going to happen where all this is going to be null and void. Just personally, because they're laying this on really thick. Yeah. Nobody's buying this story. This feels even worse than the Ukraine one, because in that one we didn't know the phone call yet. Yep. We didn't know if he said something that could be legitimately spun at that time and be like, oh, this is going to be hard. But once you read it, you understood. They are making this push. They are going to, because if you tie him up in the impeachment things, and then, they're obviously going after Barr as well and attacking him with that. And then you have another, pandemic like situation to lay it on thick to make sure the mail-in ballots arguments happen. I mean, that to me is throwing the kitchen sink at this point. They are really laying it on. And I think that this would have been planned for. It would have been expected. And I'm very interested to see the counter, I'll use the word attack from the Trump campaign because they're smart enough to know this was coming. What's the point of all that? And if we want to see where our favorite anon with the writing on the wall, there's definitely going to be a counter move that they're going to be quote unquote impossible to defend. And I think the best way to do that is to then expose them with actual corruption.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with that.
Next, post 4540, to me, pointing directly to this, the news is fake, the insurgency is real. And then post 4541, this is the article. Is this the article from General Flynn? Or is this a letter from someone else? Yes, Children of Light and Children of Darkness. If you guys haven't read this yet, you can, let me see if I can pull up an article that contains it so that I can send this out to you guys and you can read it if you haven't yet. So General Michael Flynn penned this op-ed for the Western Journal. And it's pretty compelling, okay? I mean, it's very heartfelt. Obviously, he's talking about the future of our country. There is a link to a Gateway Pundit article that contains it, but let's go through it. So, it says it was written on June 7th, 2020, Holy Trinity Sunday. Mr. President, in recent months, we've been witnessing the formation of two opposing sides that I would call biblical: the children of light and the children of darkness. The children of light constitute the most conspicuous...
Hey, buddy, let me stop you just before you keep going further. Yeah. It wasn't Flynn who wrote this.
Oh.
It was the Archbishop Carlo Vigano. Yeah,
so
I know that we just recently had a Flynn, op-ed written.
He just used the same language. That's why.
Yeah, he basically just copied or our favorite anon copied it into this post. We've had it dropped before, but it's definitely a good reminder because it is exactly like what we were talking about on Sunday.
Yeah,
the battle in between good and evil and how it's bleeding into reality.
Yeah,
at least of what we see here in the streets. So that's what's going on here. Now, if you want to keep reading it, that's fine.
No. Now that I see, he split it up into two parts, and the second part has the signature on it. But yes, we've discussed this before. But
right, and I'm dropping the link to this in full in the chat because they made such a big deal out of it because Trump, pointed to it. So I'm gonna drop that here in the chat for you guys to have to read later. And obviously, it's on your favorite app for all the drops and stuff like that. I'm glad that it was put in there on record by just having it copied in.
Yeah, and then post 4543, loyalists critical. This is a direct plea to us and other people in the administration, I believe, who are loyalists. A counterattack to the first law and order strike, prepared and ready in effort to change the narrative, prevent blind mass public awareness regarding coordinated effort to remove sitting U.S. POTUS, and covertly disrupt COC, I would say chain of command, regional comm as needed. Media plans to disregard, relabel as political attacks. So anything that President Trump is going to do to try and bring our country back to law and order is going to be an attack on his political enemies. So if, let's say, there's some charges pushed against Joe Biden as a result of everything that happened in Ukraine, well, they're immediately going to say that it's just a political attack, as they've already been doing. Immediate plans to disregard, relabel as political attack, AG election interference, and inject script. So also the work that the AG is going to be doing on election interference, they're going to say it's all political. Some commanding officers, EOs. Now, often EO is executive order, but in this case, I would imagine methods, it's executive officer, would you say?
That's what I would take from it. It's not necessarily, I don't think it's executive order.
Yeah. Okay. May provide classified 1 through 99 that do not reflect those classified 1 through 99 of the POTUS or the AG of the United States. So he's going to have people that previously appeared to be loyalists turning on him. This could also directly be pointing to like Mattis and Kelly, people who have already flipped on him publicly.
Right. I mean, having anybody with that kind of brass to show up and say, just like muddy the waters with their own type of reports and stuff like that. And especially if they counteract anything, that would be what we're trying to expose during this time. You could see it coming. Yeah.
In the chat, Tina says, "Excuse me, did you just tell me to shut up?" I don't know. It certainly wasn't one of us, but anybody in the chat, let's be civil to each other, guys. No reason to not be. And then appropriate action should be taken. Remember your oath. Remember your mission. Infiltration, not invasion. Defend and protect at all costs. So there are elements within the government who are clearly going to be flipping on President Trump. I saw Fox News, an article on Fox News speculating that President Trump might just drop out, that he just might not continue his run for president. Absolute garbage. I can't believe the stuff that I see out of there. So you can thank Paul Ryan for that directly. I think Paul Ryan deserves what's coming. Now, post 4544, this is a quote from Thomas Paine. And this is great, okay? Honestly, this is the information, the basis, I think, of what we are trying to get across to people, and what, I think really came through on that show with Mark. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. We're in the midst of a war, and wars are never pretty, they're never easy. They don't come without some amount of sacrifice. So that's us, man. That's what we're doing here right now. And it is going to get harder before it gets better. So just stick with it. That's all I can say. It breaks my heart when I see people writing me, or I see posts showing that people have given up, that they don't feel that there is any point to go on. Don't lose hope. Stay here with us. Continue to fight. We need each and every one of you. Now,
I totally agree with you on that. We've got to keep fighting through it. There is, like we've talked about before, a point that we could try to help. We could try to keep people involved and motivated, and we do give people the advice to take your breaks, take your time, live your life and all that. But this is something that's going to happen with or without any of us. That they have to. We're way too far in, past the tipping point for this to get put back in, Pandora's box. It's been opened, the fight's happening, and we just want to be a part of it and all that. But just real quick, we've got about 4,400, give or take, here hanging out with us. 1.8 thousand likes is what I see. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue, that would be great. And thank you guys for hitting us up on PayPal and Cash App.
Ralph Russell says any news is following a narrative. Well, I think it depends on who's presenting it. Of course, it's following a narrative, but is it following the narrative that they want to go ahead and get across to people? Or is it being presented by people like Methods and I, who put our own unique perspective on it? Of course there's a narrative, of course it's being followed, but it doesn't mean that it has to be the single point narrative that every single news channel wants to get across. They want to make you believe that President Trump isn't going to win. They want to make you believe there's no hope. They want to make you believe that Joe Biden is an effective adversary for President Trump come November 2020, and that's ridiculous, okay? I don't see Joe Biden making it all the way until November 3rd. Post 4545, this is a long one. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to, wrong one. Humanity is good, but when we let down our guard, this is, and I just want to comment here. The tone and the way that this post is written is different than the vast majority of them. It's not signed by Q+, but it seems to me that the manner in which it's written is the same as like a speech given by the president would have. Before we get into it, Methods, how do you feel about the way that this is put together? Because this first beginning point is different.
Right. And every once in a while you can kind of notice that. I know we've had conversations with people like White Hat, where we'll joke around and be like, oh, it's so-and-so writing this one. Right. Because it just feels different. But I do believe we need ones like this. It puts things back in perspective. And on top of that, anybody new reading can add. There's a lot. If you're new to this and that would happen to be your first post you see getting into it, you are leaving with so many questions. And if you fight to figure it out, it's going to wake you up because there's just so much to this post, and it does feel different. To me, it's motivational, and it also feels like what kind of things would be said before a mission. Let's remind you about what's going on. Let's remind you what's at stake. Let's remind who we are in this and what we need to do. So no, definitely, man, go ahead and read it.
Yeah. And I just want to ask people in the chat, I know that things are tense right now, all right? But please, by and large, the people who are here in this chat, we are all fighting for the exact same goal. So, there's a way that you can talk to people without being rude. I just ask you guys to please be civil to each other, all right? There is a spell that is cast on people by having the ability to say things without any type of consequence or recourse by the people who are taking it in. Do not direct your vitriol at people here in the chat. We're all brothers and sisters, okay? We're all Americans, and I know people from around the world are here, but we're brothers and sisters here on this planet, okay? We're all children of God. Let's do it together, okay? We need to be here together in the same place for the same reason. Humanity is good, but when we let down our guard, we allow darkness to infiltrate and destroy. Like past battles fought, we now face our greatest battle at present, a battle to save our republic, our way of life, and what we decide, each of us now will decide our future. Will we be a free nation under God, or will we cede our freedom, rights, and liberty to the enemy? We all have a choice to make. Evil, darkness, has never been so exposed to light. They can no longer hide in the shadows. Our system of government has been infiltrated by corrupt and sinister elements. Democracy was almost lost forever. Think HRC install. 2+ Supreme Court justices, 200+ judges, rogue elements expanded inside DOJ, FBI, clowns in America, no such agency, White House, state, removal of Second Amendment, border, etc., America for sale, China, Russia, Iran, Syria, ISIS and ALQ expansion, surveillance of domestic citizens, modify, change voter rules and regulations, allow illegals plus ballot harvesting with Supreme Court-backed liberal social opinion, sell-off of military to highest bidder to fight internal long-standing wars. Their thirst for a one-world order, destruction of national sovereignty, serves to obtain control over America and her allies, think EU, by diluting your vote to oblivion and installing a new one-world ruling party. The start of this concept began with organizations such as World Health Org, World Trade Org, United Nations, ICC, NATO, etc., all meant to weaken the United States. Also the formation of EU through threat, con, of close proximity, attack. Attack on one is an attack on all. Sales pitch to general public, fear control. Regarding EU, did each member nation cede sovereignty to Brussels? Regarding EU, each member must implement EU rules and regulations in all areas. Think immigration, currency, and overall control.
Before you move on, buddy,
Yeah.
I want everybody to really think about what that was explaining, because we do like to remind people, or at least refer to the alternative timeline that would have happened if Trump didn't win.
That's exactly what this is, yeah.
And that's the explanation. Like, really imagine what Red Pill just read. That the idea of everything that we've been taking down, when it comes to fighting ISIS, building the border wall, and, building up our military, putting everybody in check, putting the sanctions on different countries that have been getting away with these things so long, going head to head essentially with China. You have all these different things, and all the stuff that's coming to light that we're learning now would have been involved in the system, and we wouldn't have had a president that's in our corner.
Yeah.
They would have been leading that charge, and a lot of us probably wouldn't have met, but we would have all ended up with the same fate, because everybody had this feeling, even though we were learning from, digging and all these different, research stuff that we get shared amongst each other and helping everybody understand what's going on. We wouldn't have really had this kind of apparatus of connection, but we would have all had the same fate, because we know that, there's good in a lot of this movement and people, and this whole system was not about you. One, to use you for a variety of reasons, but its ultimate end game was to target you and the idea of what you believe in and your faith and being a patriot wherever you are in any nation. So I like, once again, this being brought back up, because we know not only are we reminded of what we almost had, we're reminded of what they're trying to still do and what could very well happen if we don't succeed.
Exactly.
So it's good to have those reminders.
Now, Mark Semler in the chat said, I followed Red Pill for a little over 3 years, and now you want to start telling everybody what to say and how to act? It sounds a little bizarre to me. I'm not telling you anything, Mark. I'm asking people to be considerate and to be civil to each other in my chat. You don't have to do anything that I ask you to do. I am suggesting that perhaps we'll get a little farther working together than working against each other, especially considering everything that they've done to us. Okay? Like Method said, we may not have ever met if this was different. Okay? If we lived in the mirror world, we wouldn't have the Supreme Court justices. We wouldn't have these 200 plus judges. We wouldn't have any of the gains that we've made. So why are we going to start fighting against each other right now? Okay? I'm not saying that it's wrong to have different opinions. Everybody is free to have their own opinion. All right? I'm just asking people to be civil in the chat. Mark, I don't care what you do. Okay? You know, even if you say something nasty to somebody else, I'm not going to ban you for saying something nasty to somebody else. I'm just going to ask you to please think about your fellow human beings. Okay? You can do whatever you want, guys. I don't want you to have the same opinion as me. But I think that as long as we're under the same level of threat, there is nothing wrong with suggesting that we get farther working together than working against each other. It's common sense. So, whatever. All right.
You're at their thirst to remove your ability.
Yes, yes. Their thirst to remove your ability to defend yourself serves to prevent an uprising to challenge their control. There is a fundamental reason why our enemies dare not attack, invade our borders, and that's armed citizenry. If America falls, so does the world. If America falls, darkness will soon follow. Only when we stand together, only when we are united, can we defeat this highly entrenched dark enemy. And not to put too fine a point on it, but that is the reason I'm saying these things that I'm saying today. We have to work together if we're going to hope to be successful. Okay? You go into battle with people. We have all of these people that we're fighting with, okay? Imagine, storming the beach at Normandy, and everybody wants to do their own thing. Nobody wants to, work together with their fellow soldiers. How far do you think they would have gotten, all right? It's just common sense, man. Now, their power and control relies heavily on an uneducated population. A population that trusts without individual thought. A population that obeys without challenge. A population that remains outside of free thought and instead remains isolated, living in fear inside of the closed-loop echo chamber of the controlled mainstream media. This is not about politics. This is about preserving our way of life and protecting the generations that follow. We are living in biblical times. Children of light versus children of darkness, united against the invisible enemy of all humanity.
No, it's all very well said, and I know when you read Invisible Enemy, you immediately thought of how Trump would bring that up during this whole virus thing. It is the invisible enemy. It's the evil, it's the old guard, and that's what we're trying. It's crazy how we're fighting for what we were told we already had.
Yeah.
And then now that we even bring it up, we're now bots. We're now insert name here. We are, all these, we're attacked when all that we want is that, and to a degree, to also be left alone. Mm-hmm. We want to live our own lives. We want to be told, hey, I have to wear a mask, or I have to close down my business, or I have to do all this stuff. We just want to be left alone for the most part. We like having our communities and working together. But besides that, since we're all in this together, we are all affected as such. So once again, just that whole post is probably my favorite in a while.
Yeah,
because we do have conversations with people that have been around. I guess you can call the OG people that have been around since the beginning of these posts happening. Mm-hmm. And you notice that there's more and more of the friendly reminders or things we already know about, or like the pat on the back post, or just all that stuff. And I get it. For some people, it does kind of get old to a degree. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like it's for you, right? And you have to just consider how people are waking up all the time. But this one right here was like, oh, this is new. This is something that's very exciting. Yeah, because it does put things in context if you take it all in.
Yeah, it's an extremely important post, and that's I think that everybody should read this and reread it, and really think about it. Now, post 4546, It is talking about the transmission of CV-19 coming through the border. It's an article from the New York Times, and it says, camouflaged by protests, riots, CV-19 2. Positive patients in Mexico were quietly transferred, routed to California. The swelling numbers of CV-19 patients entering the United States from Mexico comes as many parts of California have pushed down their infection rates, enables many countries to lift stay-at-home restrictions and reopen business. Now, next, it's an article from Deadline.com about how Governor Gavin Newsom says, well, now we have to shut down LA County again. How do you maintain control of the narrative, mail-in voting necessary, and attempt to keep control of the population? Next challenge, rise in cases due to testing, including Mexico to California, but overall decrease in death rates because the nursing home scandal is in the public domain and it's no longer a viable option. So they are clearly trying to push those numbers back up again, that, the idea of flattening the curve is gone now. It's not enough that we were able to do that as a country. Now, because they're not going to be able to get those death rates up to the same level because people are watching the nursing homes, they're just going to have to inflate the numbers. And that's through these faulty tests. This is through pushing people who are infected through the border and doing anything they can to get those numbers back up. I guess for people in California, I'm saying be safe, okay? Because I would not be surprised if the government, if Newsom in California started locking down every county again and started, doing more draconian things, making people stay indoors or quarantining people for these asymptomatic results. There was recently information that came out about the asymptomatic carriers. And basically, if you're asymptomatic, there's no transmission, people don't get sick from each other if they're not showing actual symptoms.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you need to give yourself, the pat on the back, metaphorical, about the fact that they can't use that narrative anymore about the old folks home. They can't even do that because, we do have people like some people in Congress that are looking into it, and they see that it's suspect because they weren't following federal guidelines. We've got that happening. But how much noise was made when our favorite Anon brought up, use this concept as target practice. The memes flowed, gets discussed anytime any of those people tweet, any of these governors, mayors that are doing these things, that they just get riddled with the comments. So anybody that actually supports them and takes the time to read those replies are seeing all these accusations. Now imagine if the numbers were to come out again that there's a spike in old folks' homes. We would immediately jump on it, and it would start to become even more suspect to the people that are just casually taking in this information. So to me, it is a victory in itself. Call it not even a silver lining that we could close these doors and say, nope, not again. You already did that. You're being investigated for it. You're not going to pull that stuff again. And we're just going to have to keep speaking up on anything they try to do, because what this comes from, this post, is that they essentially, used a couple people from the border and just basically, infected more people in California to justify the closing down. Because imagine losing that, 55 votes when it comes to the election from California, off the top of my head.
I can't tell you how many electoral votes are.
I think it's 55, but the chat can correct me. I know it's high up there. Imagine that being controlled Republican, because that's what's really helped Democrats keep a lot of their power, or at least make the voting itself so one-sided on who gets that. Imagine if they lose it. So they got to shut down things like that. New York too. They have to try their best to shut that down, because they have to keep us from voting publicly, because that could happen. Imagine California turning red. I mean, that to me would be the biggest, besides Trump winning, would be the biggest highlight to me, is if they were to turn California red for President Trump.
That would just be the ultimate gift. Now, I saw Tina Mack in the chat asking why her chats were turning white and disappearing. Slow mode. Slow mode's on because we've got almost 5,000 people here. You chat once every 60 seconds. It allows everybody to have an opportunity to say something without the chat just flying by, because then I can't read anything, then the mods can't check anything, and nobody is censoring you. I'm so surprised when people don't know what slow mode is at this point, but it's fine. I just want everybody to know that you're not being censored. It's slow mode. Also, YouTube will hold certain comments that it thinks might be offensive, and the system that they use is absolutely flawed. I don't know how it works, and there are things that I see it holding that I don't understand. One thing that I know is if you use a lot of emojis, they tend to hold that. Unless you're a prawn bot who's coming here to spam my chat, and then they let everything through. So the next post is actually this video right here, this YouTube video, The Lone Warrior. It is a cinematic epic soundtrack. And then the next post here is 4548.
Just on that point real quick, because I know some people are digging on that, because we had our president tweet that same title out earlier today. And I know that there's even more digs going on, and I'm probably already behind on some of them because we were getting ready for the show. But the book called The Lone Warrior by Paul Fraser Collard, the theme of the book is essentially a hero who's been in another series of books, and he's somewhere and he's about to leave, but there's a mutiny going on, and he can't just let his patriotic and being a hero go. And the whole book is about solving this mutiny. Well, what are we seeing here when we're talking about people that are supposed to be on Trump's side coming against him?
Yep.
All these narratives. You got even Fox News flipping on him. You've got, I saw earlier that we're getting some Republicans that we like coming out and saying, yeah, just wear the mask. Just be respectful. And that's fine. Some of them are up for election, so I kind of get it. I'm not justifying it, but that makes sense for them to stick with that narrative. But I will always say this. I think the masks are garbage. It's a waste of time. But yeah, to me, mutiny is a great word for it, because we are dealing with that. Have been since you got elected.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next post, we have a Twitter status from NYC Scanner. And God, I don't even want to show it. It's an older woman getting assaulted by someone. And the question asked next is, does a combination of prisoner release plus mask mandate provide for a more dangerous environment to citizens? I mean, that's an absolutely. I think that the first time my mom saw people out wearing masks, she was like, it looked like everybody was out to rob a bank. I mean, how much crime can you commit if you're wearing a mask and nobody can identify you? I mean, it makes it a lot easier. Then you throw in the fact that they're releasing all these prisoners. Then there's an article from the New York Post. And it says that city district attorneys rip de Blasio over planned release of high-risk inmates. That was back in March. I believe that it was just announced yesterday that de Blasio also was cutting $1 billion from the NYPD. And from the article, as an example, when we learned last week that Brand was about to use her authority to order an across-the-board release of hundreds of inmates serving city sentences, we were assured that the release would not include those serving time for domestic violence or certain types of intimate offenses, given the risks to victims, the letter states. Unfortunately, we later learned that such individuals were indeed included in the ranks of those to be released. De Blasio said Sunday more than 650 inmates had been released over CV-19 concerns. Then there's another article from NBC New York, and we get a quote from that. Hundreds of prisoners released early from Rikers due to CV-19 concerns are being enabled to reoffend again and again without consequences, law enforcement leaders say. Cause and effect. What do you see happening? Well, I see people being forced to fear going out on the streets, because not only do you have this pandemic that they're pushing on us, but you also have the threat of people who are violent offenders coming after them. You have video evidence to show it. You have anecdotal evidence of the stories that we've talked about on a number of occasions. And you have the real life victims, people who were let out of prison, let out of jail. They immediately go out and they reoffend. And then you have absolutely innocent victims in the regular population. And unfortunately, they are the people who are at the highest risk. You have small children who've been victimized. You have old people that have been victimized. It is absolutely just one of the most distressing things that I can possibly imagine. And of course, they are doing it by design. Now think about this. When I hear all this in context, it reminds me of the movie Batman Begins with Christian Bale. Because if you remember right, they had released that toxin, so they released something out there that was affecting everybody, causing fear, and then they allowed all the inmates out of the prison to cause chaos.
And the whole idea of it was a foreign entity, as in the League of Shadows. I know I'm nerding out now, but y'all can deal with it.
I love
it.
Yeah,
right. They were doing it because they thought that it was too far gone, and to them it was they were doing something that was justified. But just kind of the whole idea of it, of just causing chaos, that was the third act of the movie. It was the big build up, because you've got chaos happening in the streets. It's fear. They want you to feel like you got to stay inside, just in general, and they're allowing evil to run amok. They allow all these things to happen, because now if they're let out and all that stuff, does that mean that they can go, do you really trust these people that are being let out, that they're not going to go find themselves some mail-in ballots to fill out because they got let out by a Democrat? I mean, it is what it is. But I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to use that movie reference.
Oh, dude, it was perfect. Now, also, Charles says that there is some kind of a threat to monuments at the Gettysburg battlefield on the 4th. Charles, I would say that if you know that, and now we know that on the show, the chances that the president and the park police also know that is 100%. And I say let them try, okay? Because they're going to get 10 plus years in prison, and this is going to be the only gratifying thing from this experience, is that all of these people have been allowed to operate so that they can be identified, and then they can be locked up. And then the most dangerous segment of society will be off the streets. So go ahead and try, guys. I don't think that they're going to be successful. Now, the next post is a tweet from Chad Pegram, and our favorite Anon says, like clockwork, Democratic Tennessee Rep. Cohen introduces resolution for the House to begin impeachment inquiry into Barr, has 35 co-sponsors, says Barr obstructs justice by favoring the president's friends and political allies. He abuses his power by using the DOJ to harass, intimidate, and attack disfavored Americans. Absolutely ridiculous. Now take a look at this meme.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier, about how they're going to go after Barr. And shout out to people in the chat. They mentioned it when this broke, but I couldn't find anything on it because articles, I guess, hadn't been written yet. So shout out to y'all for bringing this up. You were ahead of our favorite Anon on that. But that makes sense. Cohen's a dumpster fire. Don't like the guy in general, but they have to go after Barr because they have to paint that picture because of what's about to happen with things. You know, if Durham's going to wrap up this summer, and then they're going to still tie that to Barr because they don't have anything on Durham. If you notice, they don't even bring up Durham. Yep. They're going after Barr. Yep. So this makes complete sense, and it's just sad.
I mean, we've been waiting for it to happen. I mean, it is absolutely not surprising. Here it is, pretty straightforward on this. Unfortunately, I mean, it's going to work out badly for them. Now, in the most recent post, we have a redrop here. This is an Anon on the board. It says, I see what's happening, but I would like to see you guys doing something about it already. We know all of this. We are helpless to it all. So the real question is, do you see what is happening? And our favorite Anon says, fear not. We are not helpless. Enough must see. It is the only way. You are being presented with the gift of vision, ability to see clearly what they've hid from you for so long, illumination. Their deception, dark actions on full display. People are waking up in mass. People are no longer blind. Do you think it's a coincidence they banned and prevented you attending church, house of worship? Anti-American, anti-God. One must only look to see. Have faith in humanity. Have faith in yourself. Let light guide you. Find peace through prayer. Biblical. And, I mean, this is just the culmination of everything that we've been told, everything that we've been talking about. I would say that the number of people who are awake and aware on some level in this country is clearly greater than it's ever been at any time in history. So, again, it's not our timeline. This is going to have to work out the way that it does. And I just urge you to make sure that you protect yourselves in the meantime and find solace in prayer. That's the only thing we can do.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'll have discussions with people about all these things going on, and the justification that said, I know that we've had a lot of people researching for decades and stuff that are a part of this movement. You know, there has been, you know, quote unquote, the truther movement for a very long time, you know, but a lot of us didn't know about a lot of these things going on, you know, and it's hard to wrap our heads around it. And then the question that you ask yourself is, how did it get this bad? You know, because if they can systematically put out this apparatus of evil, you know, it had to take time, over time, the slow boil of the frogs, if you will. And to have, you know, so to me, shining light on something that has to work in darkness for it to thrive is the best way, because now all those tactics, that playbook right there it really can't be used in the future. And now, of course, it has to happen. And I can respect what the Anon's saying here. And Farmer Funk out there in the chat's bringing up how there's a lot of negative, quote, negative Nancy, whiny shills on the boards. You know, we see them all the time. That's part of the shill move. Yeah. They've been doing that for a while. And that's why we have a hard time sometimes even like deciphering if when we get replies that read the same as an obvious shill, when it could just be a concerned patriot. You know, it's really hard, but that's the point of it. That's the point of this tactic with that. So I can respect the Anon bringing this up, genuine or not, because there is that. Because what better way is to bring consequences? Just like how the president brought up that now that they're actually indicting and going after people who are destroying these statues and giving, you know, decade sentences to, you know, he said, Trump said that the destruction's gone down a bunch, you know, and that's the whole idea of being afraid of consequences. So we're all asking for that. I know it just becomes speculation till it happens, but imagine it happening, and then they can't play a lot of these tricks anymore, especially because when these things happen, what the government, you know, the right people government would then put in legislation to where it would be illegal from the jump to even attempt it, because that's the door that opens it. So to me, it does have to play. I can agree with our favorite Anon on this. It is unfortunate. But at some points, the weight of the whys and the complaining, and then obviously the shills, becomes worse than the weight itself. And you know, that's why we've got to stick together and help each other out, and depend, you know, and pray for each other, and take your time and find your energy, because at the end of the day, it's going to happen regardless, because it's going to have to. There's no way that we can progress as a nation at all without some kind of, you know, judgment occurring in such a scale that stops this in its tracks. That's where my faith is at, and I will continue fighting to the day to see it happen. Yeah, you know, and I mean, like I said, this is a constant battle. Honey, I love you. Have a good meeting. This is a constant battle, okay? We're in the midst of a war. Unfortunately, there are going to be casualties. If somebody loses their life, it was their time to go be with God, okay? That's the way I look at it. If I lose my life, it's my time to go be with God. I'm not worried about it. I hope that I get as much time as I need here on this earth to fulfill all of the things that I'm meant to fulfill. And I believe that I will, because I believe that everything happens in divine order. So I'm not worried about it. And I know that not everybody has the same opinion about it, but everything that we are experiencing on a daily basis, okay, attacks from the shills, attacks from the left, attacks from people on the right, it makes it difficult to discern who is what and who is genuine and what is actually being said. So, you know, I mean, we're doing our best on a daily basis to just survive and to make it to the end goal here, which is the saving of our country. We have to fulfill this mandate. That's the only way that we're ever going to be safe, and the only way that we're ever going to be happy and secure. You know, we can't just... There's no way for us to just do it the easy way. I've never gotten anything handed to me in my life. Everything that I've gotten in my life has been a tremendous struggle, okay? And I would say that that is probably, more than likely, the same for every single person in this chat. Give me a 1 if everything that you've ever wanted in life was handed to you on a silver platter. I'm going to be really surprised if I see any 1s here, okay? You have to fight for what you want and for what you need, and this is the only way to do it. I'm going to continue fighting now. Okay, give me a 2 if life has been a struggle, because that's what it's meant to be, all right? All of the trials and tribulations that you go through in your life to get to where you are. Dave McHugh. Okay, Dave McHugh has the silver spoon in his mouth, but I think he's probably being facetious. But everything that you do in life is a struggle, because if it's not, then you don't appreciate it.
How can you appreciate something that was just handed to you? It has so little value if it was just given to you. Okay, I mean, even President Trump, he had to borrow $1 million from his dad. His dad had the money to go ahead and just give him $1 million. Here you go, son, make your own fortune. He borrowed it from his dad at interest so that he could go ahead and make himself into the businessman and the man that he is today. Every single thing in my life came at great struggle and personal cost, okay? And I wouldn't have it any other way. I appreciate everything in my life. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate my family. I appreciate all of the people that I love. I appreciate all of the hard work that goes into it. I appreciate that I have to wake up every single day and do what I do, and I get 4 hours of sleep at night, because if I wasn't there doing it, then who would be? This is me. This is my calling, okay? And if I'm not out here working my darndest, the most possible effort that I can put into saving the country, then I wouldn't be able to sleep at all any night. Thank you guys for being here with us, and I need to give a couple of quick thank yous to some people in the audience.
Well, while
do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, while you're getting that ready, it's well said on that. And we're all human in all this, so anytime you feel that weight of any of the stress going on, it's there, it happens. But it's also an opportunity to build and find your strength and figure out your ways to get through it. Because as things get worse and worse and worse, there's things going on right now I'm sure a lot of us couldn't have handled if this just started out this way. Mm-hmm. It's built up progressively, but it's made us stronger. And ultimately, I want to say I'm proud of everybody, because there's a lot of names that are familiar that I see out there still doing this every day, ever since I got started, and they were doing it before I got started. So, a shout out to everybody out there that's been fighting, whether you're new and just getting involved and trying to find out your way. It's difficult. We talk about the idea of being red pilled during now. Oh man, that would be, to me, I'd much rather have gone through the gauntlet the last few years than first waking up. So shout out to you for trying to find your way through all this stuff, and hopefully you'll get your help. But shout out to everybody who's been doing this, because it has been a journey. At times it has been a struggle, but it's taken, the enigma that we are to get as far as we have, and how we will take this over the finish line, whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. And turn that thumb blue if you don't mind, if you're heading out the door.
So, I'm not complaining about the struggle that is life. I am grateful for the struggles that I've had to go through in life to become the man that I am today. Don't get me wrong about this. And I'm not stressed about any of it, because I know that God is going to take care of me one way or the other. Whether it's a lesson that he's going to teach me because I have to go through perseverance and struggle to get what I need and get to be where I want to be, or whether it's just because, the things that I go through and the blessings that I'm given, all of it, I have to work for it. Okay. And if you don't work for it, then you don't appreciate it. And that's what I'm talking about. Somebody else said that just being a born American is a silver spoon. I would have to disagree with you. Okay. I mean, there are many, many people in America who are born into poverty. Think about the people that were born in the last 20 years and the fact that they've never known the freedoms that some of us have known. They've grown up in this 1984 era, being completely brainwashed, being spoon-fed nothing but propaganda. Think about our ancestors, people who came before us, who got the chance to make themselves who they were in their life and provide for their families. Think about the people who now today are earning the same amount of money that they were earning 30, 40 years ago, and the dollar is worth far less, okay? You're not just born in America and you're given a leg up. I mean, you have to work for what you want to become here in America. And, I think that in other places, perhaps it's not as great of a place to be born, but, that's the lottery of life. I need to say thank you to William, thank you to Kevin, thank you to Lisa, and thank you to Joyce. That was on PayPal. And then on Cash App, I need to say thank you to, let's see, I lost it. Why did it go back? Marilyn said, thank you again. Hold on. Thank you again. Where did it go? Thanks again for helping. Better understanding. Thank you very much. Also, Ken, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. You're the best. And then also thank you to Rhonda And thank you to Kyle. Kyle said, thanks for red pilling me during the lockdown. Thanks, Kyle, for watching, man. I really appreciate it. You know, all of you, everybody who watches this show, everybody who's here participating with us, you guys mean more to me than I think you could possibly know. Life is going to be hard no matter what. It's always going to be a struggle, and the struggle is what makes it worthwhile. So, you know, we got to persevere, man. We got to stick together. We got to keep on and on. Floyd is out there. He said, some of us had it worse, so it's been hard for you. Imagine how some of us feel. Exactly. Everybody has had a different struggle. And this is the thing, you know, I mean, nobody's experience in life is the same. Everybody has had different levels of trials and tribulations. You know, I mean, so I think that's what we have in common more than anything else, is that we've all had things that we've had to overcome. And, you know, I know the people in this chat are great people because of those things that they've had to overcome over the course of the years of their life. So I want to make this world better for every single man, woman, and child. And, you know, I believe that's what we're doing. I believe that's what this movement represents. You know, we are securing the future for the next generation. So.
Hey, I totally get it, man. And I can appreciate the passion in your voice on this, because it's something that we do want to say, and it really gets lost in context in a tweet or in DMs with people or writing back emails. We get this opportunity. That's why I look forward to this. To me, this is my therapy, to sit here and being able to talk, because I can explain things better than just coming across as somebody just trying to be somewhat savage in tweets, just joking around. There's more that can be said. So no, I agree with you. I think that we have to continue to move forward on the ups and downs, because we're going through all this together. Mm-hmm. You know, we're having, you know, when news breaks, we all have to react to it, or we are reacting to the situation. And you could tell when certain news happens, like we hear, oh, they're going to go after, you know, Trump again because of this whole thing with Russia and the Taliban. It's like, oh, great, we have to go through that. Well, we're going to go through it together. Mm-hmm. We're still going to report it. We're still going to watch it. If that were to happen, we're going to go through those things and just do the best we can with it. And at certain points, it's about finding your way to be strong enough in yourself to be able to handle these things, because it is life. And it might be because you weren't involved in these things in the past, and we didn't really have an opportunity to. So now this is, you know, uncharted territory, and we're going to fight our way and get through it. So I'm definitely interested, you know, I'm interested each day to see what happens, but I know that we're going to have the mass majority of this movement fighting. You know, it's a constant cycle that's going on. When we wake up in the morning, you know, you're just jumping in and it's already going, you know, 100 miles an hour. Now I got a question here from Sean Anon. Said, what I wonder is, do we have to wait to vote out certain bad actors like de Blasio, Cuomo, Whitmer, etc.? And he's asking both of us. That's a good question. You want to take that first?
I mean, you got to wait until there's an election coming up. I mean, that's the only thing you have to wait for. You know, I believe in the system that we have set up here. And if your leaders are not working for you, the only way that you can get them out is to vote them out. There are other ways, but I don't condone that. I mean, I think that we would throw ourselves back into the Stone Ages if we did it any other way. We need to preserve the American system. We don't want to destroy it. Now, I saw somebody in the chat say that well, hold on. Let me just say this. Life shouldn't be a struggle. Struggle is simply the exertion of physical energy against a problem or an obstacle. So, you know, just to make sure that we all have the same definition. Struggle does not mean that you're crying in a heap on the ground and you know, that it's difficult to get out of bed. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. Totally. I just wanted to come back on the Sean that he might be referring to the idea of if they get charged because of this, the way things are going with old folks' homes and all that stuff. That would be interesting, because it would be. I mean, if on the very least on the third degree thing, you know, allowing this to happen, that would be something to really wake people up if they were removed in handcuffs for all this stuff and they were shown to do so, and especially if they profited off of it in any other way.
Yep.
So yeah, Sean, definitely. I would not be surprised, or I would pleasantly be excited to see it happen. But if it does get to be the election stuff, I agree with Red Pill. It does need to happen through the process. that's there, because this is all about putting the power back in the people's hands.
If somebody gets removed from office because they've committed a crime or they've gotten charges like that, I mean, and here's the thing, just getting charged with a crime is not enough to lose your office, I believe. I mean, I think in most situations, like, the person in that office has to resign or withdraw themselves. But if that happens before an actual election year, clearly there's going to be a special election. And I saw other people here say that that it starts local. All of the work that we're doing starts locally, and that's so true. I've said this before. We have to be involved in a number of different ways. It's not enough just to be a keyboard warrior. There are other things that we can do. Now, I'm not saying that all of us should be doing the exact same thing. There are so many different roles to fill. Lots of different ways that you can help out.
I totally agree with you on that. Now, real quick, I know we're winding up here. I just want to mention this again, because we brought up Scott in the beginning. I will be here in the near future, in the next few weeks or so. I will be doing my own show. We'll explain all the details and stuff like that. But my co-host will be Scott with Woke Societies. I'm very excited about that. And also tomorrow, friend of the channel, 412 and on, he's got his daily show at 4 p.m. Eastern on We the People Insider. Just search We the People Insider on YouTube. You'll have it. I don't have the link handy. But Scott will actually be on with 412 tomorrow on his show. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. I will help them share the link tomorrow on my Twitter. I'm excited for that. They got to really, meet for the first time yesterday and chat. It's going to be really, really cool. Scott getting involved with everybody here is a lot of fun. So be on the lookout for that. I'll definitely be tuning into that one. And like I said, I will be doing a co-hosting show with Scott here in the very near future. We'll make sure that everybody knows about it.
Yeah. All right, guys, I appreciate everybody today. Sorry if I got emotional. Somebody said, why are you yelling? I don't know. I didn't notice that I was yelling. I just speak passionately when I do, and it comes out at the volume that it does. But I wasn't yelling at anyone, nor was I directing any anger at anyone in particular, other than the Marxist overlords who tried to take over our country and destroy our very way of life. I'm doing everything I can to try and reverse that, and I want to say once again, thank you to all of you for being here with us and continuing in this struggle to fight against those people who would try to hold us down. Thank you to all of the mods for keeping everything comfy. Slipster, it is great to see you again, brother. Hope you've been okay. Thank you to everybody who has liked and shared the video. We ended up with 2.4 thousand likes, guys. Consider leaving a like on your way out. I think this is another important video that we put out. Thank you again to everybody for being here. If you haven't yet, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Parler, follow me on BitChute. Any other links that you guys want, that you want to follow me on another platform or support the show, you can get those in the description of every video. I will be back at 6 p.m. for Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.
Much love, everybody.